happening, guys? We are here. We are live. Happy Tuesday. What the hell is this graphic on my screen? There you go. There you go. What's happening, guys? It's your girl, Mina. Welcome back to my channel. First and foremost, big up to everybody locked in on this wonderful Tuesday. I'm saying wonderful, but it's raining. But we're here. We're alive. We're healthy. We're good. It's another day on earth. So I guess it is a good day. Big up to everyone locked in. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe if you are new here. If you want to join the Minions gang, the membership club, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, and of course you get your custom member content. If you want to support the channel in other ways, in alternative ways, if you are enjoying the content here on a regular basis, you can send in super chats with your appreciation, with your comments, with your questions, with your thoughts, and of course that gets to support the growth of the channel, the ever-growing channel. We got a lot to talk about today because the stories have evolved since yesterday evening. You lot remember I went live at about 9:30 p.m. UK time after David Ornstein dropped the bomb that Manchester United were looking to move away from the idea of Manuel Ugarte due to the price of 60 million euros. And since then, the story has evolved a little bit in terms of the targets that Man United are looking at, who's probably in the lead when it comes to the targets, and of course other news as well, news such as Sancho, such as Antony, etc., which, by the way, I think will have a big contribution to it. I think it will have a big contribution to it. What a shock, Olmo to Barca. I know. I just saw the here we go from David Ornstein, and I was thinking, well, Dani Olmo, I don't know. I just, firstly, Barcelona, shout out to them, because no matter what financial problem they are struggling with, no matter what financial problems they have, they find a way to get the players that they want. And it explains why they're trying to offload Frankie de Jong, because they're trying to bring in new players. Of course, the deal fell through for what's his name? The name just went out of my head. The left winger, the Spanish left winger that's staying at Atletico Bilbao. Damn, his name just went out of my head. Oh my god, guys, do you ever get like a brain fart like this where you have a name in your head but the name just like disappears? But you don't know who I'm talking about. The Spanish left winger. Someone's gonna say it in the chat right now. Nico, there you go, Nico Williams. But yeah, for that, I thought they didn't really have money like that. But on top of that, guys, I don't think Olmo is the biggest shocker today. Let's actually talk about the transfer news. Julian Alvarez for 95 million euros. Nobody's talking about that. No one's really talking about that. 95 million for Julian Alvarez is a very interesting one. Man City clearly know how to sell players. It's very clear. They know how to sell players. 75 million euros plus 20 million in add-ons. I think 95 million is about 80-something million pounds, 83 million pounds Man City making from Julian Alvarez. In a window, or probably in the next 12 months, they could also lose people like Edison. They could lose Kevin De Bruyne, etc. But man, oh man, I did not see that Alvarez deal coming from anywhere. I think that Alvarez deal apparently is linked to the Conor Gallagher move. Conor Gallagher to Atletico, and that's for like, I think 35 million, 45 million total. And with that, another striker from Atletico goes down to Chelsea, and then that makes room for Julian Alvarez to join. We know Julian Alvarez, we know Atletico guys spend money. Like, let's just keep that in mind, that Atletico do spend money. They've brought João Felix for like 100 and something million. I remember they brought Lamar for like 50-60 million. We know Atletico spend money, so it's no surprise. I just didn't see the big transfer fee coming from Atletico for a player like Julian Alvarez. It kind of shocked me a little bit. But big up to everyone locked in. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Big up to Aminor, been a member for 8 months. 8 months, that's a long time, and I appreciate the support. Says we should have Matic or Fred if we're going for Berge. Listen, we're going to get into it. Because I've seen this discourse surrounding, obviously, the targets for Manchester United, and it seemed to have moved around a lot. It's moved from Zubimendi, it's moved from Sufyan Amrabat, it's moved from Ugarte, it's moved from Yusuf Fofana, and now it really looks like it's in the direction of Sander Berge. Now, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I knew of him at Burnley, that's it, and Sheffield United. When he was at Sheffield United, I knew of him. I wouldn't sit here and say I've watched him a lot, but I always do my due diligence when it comes to players. So I've researched him over the last 24-ish hours. He was a name that was mentioned, I remember, about a week or two ago. So I feel like this was kind of in the woodworks. This kind of move for him was in the woodworks. If Man United actually end up going for him, it'll be interesting because of, you know, what price tag could Burnley kind of ask for. Championship side, I don't think they're going to hold out for 50 million or 40 million, but I think United could possibly get a deal done. So let's get into it. We've got a lot of transfer news to talk about, as per always. But let's actually start with this. Let's start with this. The newest number 11 on the block is Joshua Zirkzee. We already knew, we kind of discussed this last week when Rasmus Højlund was announced as getting the number 9 shirt, which I'm kind of that's interesting to me. Now, all the players that wear significant shirts at Manchester United is interesting. What is it? Bruno has number 8, I think, if I'm not wrong. Mount got number 7. Zirkzee got number 11. Rashi with the number 10. And 9 for Rasmus Højlund. I was reading an interview that Joshua Zirkzee did, and it's interesting because he was talking about, you know, his playing style. He was talking about how he sees himself fitting in Manchester United, what sort of striker he is, and he basically said what I've kind of alluded to quite a lot lately, is that when he was also at Bologna, Thiago Motta labelled him as a 9.5. He didn't think he was a 9, and he didn't think he was a 10. He thought he was a creative striker. In this interview, Joshua Zirkzee speaks about, you know, his interest in playing not skillful football, the nutmegs, the tricks, all of that kind of stuff. He spoke quite highly about that, which is making me pretty intrigued and optimistic for what's to come. So just a little update now. Joshua Zirkzee officially the number 9 for Manchester United. And another update on the other side is this kid right here, Chido Obi Martin, has completed his medical for Manchester United. However, there's not an announcement on the horizon anytime soon because it takes some time in the Premier League. There's a longer process when it comes to signing young players on a contract. So there's still some work to be done in terms of the contract, but terms are agreed. He's done his medical today, and it's not that far away from having a little here we go. But listen, let's get into it. Sky Sports News reporting earlier this morning. Obviously, we know what happened yesterday. Just a brief little recap. David Ornstein announced that Manchester United were looking to move away from Manuel Ugarte as a midfield target due to the price. Now, in that same kind of instance, and I have to mention it because I do feel like it's kind of linked, is that PSG are now interested or are now holding talks with Manchester United regarding Jadon Sancho. So what do we know about Jadon Sancho, Manchester United and PSG? What we know today is that PSG have held talks with Manchester United regarding a potential deal for Jadon Sancho. Sancho reportedly is open to the move. Personal terms will not be a problem. I mean, why would it be? He's on nearly 250 a week base salary. PSG can definitely afford that. And obviously, we already know that Manchester United were in talks with PSG about the fee for 60 million for Ugarte. Manchester United want 40 million pounds for Jadon Sancho, which is about 50 million. So there's about a 10 million difference in variation between what PSG want for Manuel Ugarte and what Man United want for Jadon Sancho. Now, I don't see it possibly working out for Manchester United that they do a swap. Personally, because I think if you are by going for a swap deal, and by the way, I'm just speculating about the swap deal, guys. There's nothing about a swap deal, but we do know that they're in talks about Jadon Sancho, and it's inevitable that one of the topics of discussion will be Manuel Ugarte as well. Would you guys be open to an idea of a swap move for Jadon Sancho, given the fact that that will leave us with one less creative option in the front line next season? I mean, United had to deal without him predominantly for the majority of the season last year. But would you be interested in having a switch for Jadon Sancho and Manuel Ugarte? Say a like-for-like swap. Player goes this way, player goes that way. Man United are not out of pocket by any transfer fee, and PSG are not out of pocket by any transfer fee. Now, my only issue is that I think the price tag for Manuel Ugarte is so outrageous that I think Manchester United should walk away from the deal completely and not do PSG a favour. PSG have brought in João Neves, who will clearly start at PSG. Let them have to pay 2 players that are in the same position. Let them. Because I'm not going to lie, by the way, PSG went from asking for 50 million for Manuel Ugarte to 70 million and then bringing it back to 60 million. So clearly they aren't themselves set on a price tag. Now, as much as Manchester United want Manuel Ugarte, for me, the idea of Jadon Sancho potentially leaving when Man United, I'm not really sure where the creativity is going to come from throughout the season. Of course, you know, Marcus Rashford is there, Amad Diallo is there, but I think Man United needs some depth in their wide sides. You got Garnacho that can play on the left and the right. You got Ahmad that can play on the right in the 10. He can play as a false 9 as well, and he can play in the central midfield role if necessary. And then you've got people like, I think Palestri, I think, will leave, and Antony, who we're going to come to because apparently there are some talks about Al Nassr being interested in Antony. Unless it's a cash fee, I don't think Manchester United should entertain the idea of a bid for Jadon Sancho. That's just my opinion. You lot are saying no for a like switch. Lamino is saying if they want 60 million for Ugarte, we can demand 70 million for Sancho as well. I mean, it's true. If PSG are suggesting that Manuel Ugarte is still of the price that they paid for him, then Man United should say, well, Jadon Sancho is still of the value that we paid for him, even though he's been here for 3 years and hasn't had the greatest 3 years at Manchester United. We still value him at however much we paid for him. So you guys should pay up. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Manchester United equally want Manuel Ugarte probably more than... I think the desire for Manuel Ugarte is higher than Man United's desire to sell Jadon Sancho. But we already know that the reason why Manchester United have pulled out of a move for Manuel Ugarte, the reason why Manchester United is taking long to come to, you know, a fee agreement with Bayern Munich for De Ligt and Mazraoui is because Man United are kind of cash strapped right now from a cash flow perspective, purely from a cash flow perspective, because I think they were counting quite heavily on selling players like Jadon Sancho. They were counting quite heavily on selling players like Casemiro. McTominay is yet to leave. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is reportedly holding out for about £2.5 million that he potentially is owed by Manchester United. So the cash perspective for Manchester United so far is dire. It's really dire. So they need to find solutions elsewhere. And those solutions might come from, rather than waiting out for Borussia Dortmund or Juve, who have now pulled out of the race for Jadon Sancho, it might come from somewhere like here for PSG moving for Jadon Sancho. And we already know that PSG has lost out on quite a... Xavi Simons has now gone back to RB Leipzig on loan. And shout out to Saeed, just sent me the perfect thing. Shout out to Saeed, man. I know he knows that I'm on live right now, so he just sent me this news, which I'm gonna get into, and it's coming straight from France. And you know what? Actually, it's a good segue for us because we were gonna get to the midfield talk as well. If any of you lot can guess what it is, I'll send you a $5 right now. But where is it? Let's go. Let's go. Big up to Saeed, man. Big up to Saeed. Big up to everyone in the chat as well. Coming straight from France, from Italy, sorry. And by the way, Italy, news coming out of Italy is because Milan are obviously linked to Yusuf Fofana. It's reported that Manchester United are now looking to beat Milan in the move for Yusuf Fofana. Now, he is one of the options for Manchester United, one of multiple options that Manchester United are looking at in midfield. 30 million price tag from Monaco. I think if Milan pull out of it, that price tag might lower a little bit more. But I'm very optimistic. I'm very, very optimistic. I was going to come and talk about Fofana anyways. But just quickly, before we wrap it up about PSG and Jadon Sancho and Ugarte and all of that kind of stuff, I feel like there are definitely going to be links. I think it's going to all be connected to each other. Manchester United are probably hopeful that if they can strike a deal with PSG, then they might lower the price for Manuel Ugarte, because at the end of the day, they're doing a favor for PSG. Yes, it's a player that you want, but also you've just went and spent 70 million euros on a new midfielder. You need to offload another midfielder, and it's Manuel Ugarte. You cannot. You could afford, PSG could afford to just have him on the bench and pay him every month. But what benefit is that? If anything, that would just lead to a depreciation of his transfer pricing. So it's best for them to part ways with him this season. Now, just a quick comparison based on last season per 90 minutes in terms of Ugarte versus Casemiro. Now, when people talk about Ugarte, I don't think people know what kind of profile of a player they're getting. I see people talking about a dual monster. I see people talking about, oh, he's a box to box. The misprofiling I've seen of so many players during the transfer window just shows how differently everybody views football. But Ugarte would essentially be, I think Ugarte is Manchester United's primary target. And of course, we know that they've walked away from that, but they will return to the table, reportedly by David Ornstein, if the transfer fee is reasonable and it's what they feel like the player is worth. I think that's probably around 35-40 million. I don't think they'll pay anything more than 40 million. And in terms of comparison to Casemiro, he would be a huge upgrade. He would be a huge upgrade. He'd come in and do a similar role that Casemiro was doing for the last 2 years. Casemiro also has 2 years left on his contract, guys. I really thought he joined Man United on a 3-year deal, but he's got 4 years. He joined on 4 years, so he's got 2 years left. 2 years left. He's earning what? Near enough to, I think, about 19 million a year. Manchester United, once they get these shenanigans sorted out, they really need to look at offloading Casemiro. They really, really need to look at it. Now, let's get into the details, the nitty-gritty of it. Let's get into the nitty-gritties of it. Sander Berge. A lot of you probably thinking over the last couple of days, who the hell is Sander Berge? Who is he? It's just a name that's come out of nowhere, but reportedly Manchester United have been scouting him for a number of years. Before he even went to Sheffield United, he was on Manchester United's radar. Obviously was at Burnley last season before they got relegated. And The Athletic reported this morning that Sander Berge is under consideration at Manchester United and club officials have already made contact directly with his camp. Burnley are prepared to sell. We know Burnley have to make money. We know Burnley need to make money. Of course, they've been relegated, so that pricing, that money that they'd usually make isn't going to arrive as usual. What sort of player is he? Firstly, he can play central midfield. He can play as a DM. He can play as a CM. 26 years old is not really the age that I would say that Manchester United said they would target. When Ineos was talking about the 5 commandments or whatever it was called, the 5 rules, so all of that kind of stuff, it was players under the... By the way, I can hear so much police sirens outside. I've been hearing police sirens non-stop for the last couple minutes. It's crazy. But as I was saying, 26 years old is not old. That's your peak of football. Can I say? That's when you will be at your best, 26, 27. Strengths. Or should we start with weaknesses? Let's start with weaknesses. Back to goal. Receiving the ball back to goal isn't at the best when it comes to being able to turn quickly, scanning, etc. His acceleration or his speed, or if you want to call it, his reaction time is slow. You think Amrabat's slow. I wouldn't say he's as slow as Amrabat, but he is a bit slow. Quite tall, very tall, but I don't think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he is amazing in aerial duels. Again, similar to Amrabat, we want to talk about pace. Let's talk about agility. When you're slow, you can't turn quick either, which is all kind of red flag. But then there's positives that come from him. There's positives. His ability to carry the ball, dribble. What we want right now. And maybe this is actually what we should ask each other. Do Manchester United want someone like Declan Rice that shields the back line side to side, that doesn't always show out for the ball from the back line, but can get the ball forward? Or do you want someone that is kind of happy to receive the ball with his back to play from the goalkeeper, predominantly from Ligt, if Ligt ain't, progressing the ball, and can ping a pass like this? What is it exactly that Manchester United want? That's what I want to know. IQ wise, he can read the game very well. Can move around very well between the lines, which is good. Like I said, that's definitely a strong suit. And can get forward when necessary. Now, I think for the price tag, Manchester United essentially could probably get Sander Berge and Yusuf Fofana for the price of Manuel Ugarte, which is, I think, good. Is good. Big up to Aminor with the super chat. I appreciate the contribution. Says, what's the difference between Berge and Fred, Minna? I think there's a lot of differences. Fred wasn't really the kind of guy. Let's not change what Fred was. Yeah, me and Fred Defense League here. But I know what Fred was. Fred was a runner. He was a track star. He was the kind of, he wasn't a player that picked up the ball from the back line and could, you know, receive the ball with his back to play comfortably and turn and, you know, send the ball off to the right side or send the ball off to the left side. Fred didn't do that. But what did Fred do, guys? If you lot remember Fred ran a lot. He broke up play. When teams were on the counter and Fred was running back, I knew that there was a tactical foul incoming, or I knew that something would happen that he would eventually be able to break up the play, or he'd do something really stupid that would lead to a goal. You never really knew what you were getting. But with Fred for me was always that player that was always in and around that front, you know the edge of the area box, the opponent's area. He was always there. So he's always that player that's in the right place. But it's the wrong player that you want there. Because when he takes a shot, the bro can't shoot. Even though he came from Shakhtar Donetsk as a, what was he? He was a set piece taker at Shakhtar Donetsk. So I think there's a big difference between Berge and Fred. I think there's a big difference. I'd go so far to say is Fred more like Mason Mount? But that's an argument for another day. That's an argument that we will have on another day. But big up to Aminor with the super chat. Big up to Usman with the super chat saying, hi, it's Usman. Hi, Usman. I hope you are doing well. Loving all the transfer news. I'm looking forward to the Premier League starting. What's your prediction for the Fulham game? Looking forward to your replies soon. Thank you. What's my prediction for the Fulham game? I can't give a prediction yet, just because Man United's not finished in the transfer window. I need it to be next Thursday, then I can give a prediction, which obviously I'll do a pre-game show next week Thursday to kind of talk about the Premier League and all our predictions for the season, etc. But right now I'm not the most confident. I'm not the most confident, just because I feel like Man United will possibly go into the season with the same starting 11 that they had last season, which is worrying. It's worrying because that was Manchester United's worst season. Sorry, that was their worst season. But back to transfer news, just on Berge and all the other midfielders that Manchester United are linked to. I do think that Sanderberg is of priority for Manchester United personally. I do think he is of priority. The only reason why I think that is because I don't want to say it's the way, in the manner in which in the media right now it's being pushed. Now, reportedly, Liverpool are also looking to sign a DM, and the person that they're looking to sign, that they're in talks with, in communication with, is not in the Premier League. Could they end up with Ugarte? I've seen Liverpool fans speculating about possibly ended up even with what's it called? What's his name? Zubimendi. I've even seen people talking about that too. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to all the kind of details of the players that Manchester United are linked to, because there's some good comparisons. There's some really, really interesting comparisons for me, in my opinion, that we can talk about. So let's get into it. Let's start with this comparison here. Let's talk about this comparison. And I know you lot are going to be like, football's watched with the eyes. Why are you looking at stats? Blah, 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 blah. Will you do a Community Shield watch along? No, I'll probably do a post-game and pre-game. I might be going to the Community Shield, so I won't do a watch along. Watch-alongs ain't really my thing, guys, here. I do watch-alongs for the women's team here. That's what we do. If Liverpool end up with Zubimendi, I'm losing my head. I'm going mad. I'm hearing in the Liverpool camp that there's talk about Zubimendi. But again, it's just speculation. Today's transfer sheet. You know, every Tuesday, The Athletic drop a transfer sheet of basically things to keep an eye on for certain clubs. Every Tuesday, people go crazy over the news that's been dropped on the transfer sheet, especially if it's coming from David Ornstein. But let's quickly look at this comparison here. Let's look at this comparison here between Berge and Ugarte, two players that Manchester United are looking at, two players that I would think do the things that Man United want per se, but you see how different they are. You see how more defensive Ugarte is. You see how out of the traits that he has, or the traits that he's shown, you can see that it is more so on the defensive end of stuff rather than the offensive stuff. Whereas in Berge, it's a bit of both. More so on the advancement of the ball, progressive passes, getting forward passes, etc. But he's got a defensive mindset as well. Now, if we were to compare him to Zubimendi as well, just look at this, guys. Blue is Berge, pink is Ugarte, and green is Zubimendi. Now, you lot are probably wondering, why am I still showing Zubimendi even though Manchester United have moved away from it? I'm still showing Zubimendi just because I feel like Manchester United could possibly return to that, even though I know they've said that 60 million is not what they want, but he's been a primary target in midfield, and I think that they could return to that if the price is right. So if you look at this, and this is why I've been saying throughout the transfer window that it's really interesting the targets that Manchester United are linked to, because every target that Man United is linked to is different. It's a different type of profile of a midfielder, and it makes me wonder, is the plan if Ugarte joins that Manchester United plays with 1-6? Is the plan that if Zubimendi joins that Man United play with a double pivot? Is there a possibility of United, going back to 3 in the middle? It really makes me curious as to what could happen depending on which sort of midfielder Manchester United end up with. Now, you look at the minutes, guys. Look at the minutes. And you see how much less minutes, obviously, Manuel Ugarte played at PSG in comparison to Zubimendi at Real Sociedad and Berge at Burnley. Sander Berge played nearly 3,370 minutes. Zubimendi played just under 3,000 minutes. And Manuel Ugarte played just over 2,000 minutes. So we already know that he wasn't an integral part of PSG's season. Now you look at where they kind of are similar. Things like passes forward or forward passes. Now you look at the percentage of it being completed, and Berge and Zubimendi are more aligned, despite the fact that Manuel Ugarte, Berge, and Zubimendi both attempted the same number of forward passes. You see that is not Manuel Ugarte's strongest suit in comparison to the other two, because the percentage completion is a lot better. Now you look at the comparison between, I don't know, say defensive actions, and you just see how important Ugarte is in his defensive work and the defensive framework of the game, how important he is in comparison to Berge and Zubimendi. Now, what does Manchester United need? That's what I really want to know, because some days I'm really torn between what I feel Man United should get versus what I think Manchester United should not get. Some days I'm under the impression that Manchester United should go for a complete destroyer, someone that is their pure job is to sit in front of the back line and just break up the opponent's attack. But then I think about people like Manchester City, etc., that have technically able midfielders. Now, when you look at the price tags, by the way, guys, Martin Zubimendi has a 60 million release clause. If Manchester United has walked away from Manuel Ugarte because of a 60 million price tag, do we truly believe that Manchester United would really get Zubimendi for 60 million euros? Release clause, paid up front. I don't think so, unless they're able to negotiate similar to what they did with Joshua Zirkzee. Now, alternatively, obviously, Manchester United are linked to other midfielders, but a part of me, the more I look into this, the more I do kind of feel that Manchester United might end up going for Sander Berge or someone like this guy here, someone like Yusuf Fofana, who, if in case you've missed it in the last couple of minutes, reports coming out from Italy suggest that Manchester United are now leading to beat AC Milan in the race to sign Yusuf Fofana. Manchester United are a real threat to Milan. Obviously, Fofana has opened up, reportedly. This is music to my ears, guys. This is music to my ears. Yusuf Fofana has opened up to the idea of joining Manchester United in the last couple of days, but he still prefers AC Milan. Of course, I think AC Milan is in Champions League. Now, what do we know from this? We know Man United beat AC Milan to sign Joshua Zirkzee. I'm just joking, but I'm not joking. That's legit. But in terms of Yusuf Fofana, Manchester United and AC Milan, what do we know so far? Manchester United are keen to beat Milan in this move, number one. Number two, Manchester United are progressing in this because now, reportedly, they are serious about signing Yusuf Fofana. They've presented the project to him, a very ambitious one, and he is now open to it. The biggest thing is for AC Milan is not the fact that Manchester United have come in and are scoping around, they're scoping the scene. The biggest issue for AC Milan is that there is a big valuation difference between Monaco, what Monaco want, and what AC Milan want to pay. Now, AC Milan, I think, originally was interested in paying about 18 million euros, and Monaco were not having it. Monaco want 30 million euros, which is about 22 million pounds, which is not bad. It's not bad. Now, on the flip side, when it comes to Manchester United, they haven't made a bid yet. No agreement between the club, no agreement between the player and Manchester United. But Manchester United have presented the project to him, which really makes me think that it could be a Yusuf Fofana and Sanderberg midfield that Manchester United target. I can imagine Sanderberg going for something like, I don't know, 30 million. Is that reasonable to say that he could probably go for about 25 million, maybe even less than that at Burnley? That would have been what Man United would have paid for Ugarte. You get two players for the price of one. Just with that fee, 60 million can get you two players. They might not be a complete kind of carbon copy profile wise when it comes to Manuel Ugarte, but it's still it's still two good profiles. It's still good profiles. Now, if I was to rank who I would want out of all of these, you lot know where I stand. I've always said it. Is Zubimendi 1, Yusuf Fofana 2. It would have been Manuel Ugarte 3. But now Sanderberg comes in as well. I don't know where I would put him in that ranking. Sniper Man says no Sanderberg. Damn. Jay says Fofana as an 8, cool, but as an alternative to Ugarte, it still doesn't solve much. We still need a DM, and Florentino Luis is the answer. I think you mentioned Florentino Luis a couple of weeks ago on a stream that we were looking, and we went to go and look at him. Big up to OJ says we need both, but we need a Zubimendi more than Ugarte. I think Collier could potentially do what Ugarte does. We don't have a Zubimendi in that team. I hear it. Tom says 2 relegations in 4 seasons. But come on, man. A lot of people have gotten relegated before. A lot of people have. And James Maddison got relegated. I didn't hear anyone complaining about that. It's harsh to kind of blame a relegation solely on him. It wasn't solely his fault that Burnley got relegated. It's not solely his fault. Now, a little news has kind of quietened down so far on the idea of Adrien Rabiot. News has quietened down, which makes me believe that Man United are not really looking in that direction. Now, can I just say, guys, let's defeat this. Let's X out this kind of notion that top teams don't shop in the Championship. There's a lot of talent in the Championship. There is a lot of talent in the Championship. Quite a few, if I'm not wrong, quite a few players of that Liverpool Champions League winning team a couple years ago, or even the Premier League winning team, came from Championship teams. So let's not kind of get caught up in this conversation that nothing good comes from the Championship. It's the second flight of English football. Of course, there's good talent there. And just because someone might play in the Championship or may have got relegated from the Premier League to the Championship doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad player. It does not mean that they are a bad player. Do we forget Roy Keane got relegated the season we signed him? Exactly. Now, I think at the end of the day, yeah, Man United right now, the way that they're being run, they're making financially smart decisions. That's what they're doing. They're making financially smart decisions. Ugarte for 60 million, we have to accept that would be outrageous. And I am not against the idea of Man United signing Fofana and Berge, or wishful thinking, but Fofana and Zubimendi instead of that. That is, for me, if United signed somebody like Zubimendi, that is Man United's midfield sorted for at least the next 4 or 5 seasons. Man United's midfield would be sorted. All you have to do is dash in one more midfielder to replace Bruno Fernandes once he leaves, and that's United's future. That is literally the future. Honestly, it hurts me to see this, by the way. It hurts me to see this picture of Zubimendi in a United shirt, because I know it might not happen. It might not happen, but that would be a Zubimendi and a Kobe Mainoo partnership. Could possibly, I don't even want to say it, but I was going to say it might be the best midfield partnership. I don't want to jinx it, obviously. I even though I don't believe in jinxing. Fofana and Berge still feels like we are light in midfield for some reason. It's not settling with me. Quite a lot of people have suggested that this link and these transfer rumors is not. It's not kind of moving them. It's not moving them, and I really wonder why. Because I think maybe we've got caught up in this notion of names, etc. When we talk about in transfer windows, you hear, oh, Norwegian player, oh, 26 years old, playing in the championship, not moved. Then you hear, oh, this person's got a release clause in their name. Oh, okay, they got a release clause in their contract. They must be good. Let's not get too carried away. I trust that if Sander Berge was a player that Manchester United was scouting before even Ineos came in, then I absolutely believe that this is something that they've had in the plan. Like, I am not critical enough, or I'm not that big of a hater, guys, to think that Manchester United only had Manuel Ugarte in their sights. I know for a fact they've done their due diligence. They had a list of 5, 6, 7, 8 alternatives, different profiles maybe, and of course different project plans for that person, depending on who it is, depending on their profile, depending on how they see them fit into the club. I 100% believe that, because all these names that United are being linked to, these are not names that have popped up out of nowhere in the last 24 hours. If you lot go back and watch a stream that I did about 2 weeks ago, where we were talking about midfielders and we were talking about Ugarte and we were talking about other reported targets, I think it was Duncan Castles that reported it at the time. Sander Berge was a name that came up. Joey Verman was another name that came up. And I said, wow, we went from Ugarte and Zubimendi and Yusuf Fofana to basically other players is very, very interesting. But this is a name that's been around. This is not kind of new. Like, even Yusuf Fofana is a name, that has been around. He's been around even last summer when he was linked to a move at Nottingham Forest and they eventually decided to go for Ibrahim Sangare. That was a name that was there on the table. Yusuf Fofana has been of interest. By the way, Monaco are literally got his replacement lined up. I can't believe, by the way, guys, I've been living under a rock. Yeah? Clearly not, because I keep up with the news and everything. I didn't realize Mohamed Kamara had been sold by Monaco a couple of days ago to Al Sadd. I'm so sad. Oh, that was not intentional. That joke was not that joke. That is such a dad joke. That was not intentional. But honestly, I didn't know Mohamed Kamara had been sold to Al Sadd, and it made me really sad because I really liked him. Now I got to go to Qatar to go and watch him. But Monaco have his replacement lined up. They've got Yusuf Fofana's replacement lined up in the name of Lamine Kamara. For them, they just need to sell Yusuf Fofana, and it could actually backfire on them, because if he cannot, say, Man United refused to pay 30 million and AC Milan refused to pay 30 million, he will leave on a free next summer. And similar to what the issue Fiorentina were having last summer with Soufiane Amrabat, Monaco cannot afford for that to happen again. They can't. And another name that is linked, I mean, I think he's only linked because he's been there, done that, got the shirt, is Soufiane Amrabat. Sky Sports News reported today that Manchester United are doing work on a number of midfielders, which include Yusuf Fofana, as we mentioned already today, Martin Zubimendi, that we already mentioned today, Sander Berge, that we've done some in-depth analysis about, and last but not least, Soufiane Amrabat. Now, between all of these 4 players, I think Soufiane Amrabat will probably be the one that probably can get into the team, can agree a deal with the club a lot quicker, because his agents have a working relationship with the club. He's already been there. That you don't need to pitch a project to him. He already knows the ins and outs of the club after spending 12 months there. So it'll be very easy for them. I also think he could be the cheaper player. I think he could be the cheaper option out of all these guys. Sander Berge, I'm not sure what the price tag would be from Burnley. I can imagine it being maybe 20 million. I don't know if that's unreasonable. Yusuf Fofana, we already know, is 22 million GBP, and we already know Martin Zubimendi reportedly has a release clause of 60 million. I see a price tag sometimes of 50 million flying around, but I've seen online researching that Zubimendi's clause is 60 million, so that's about 50 million pounds. So Sufyan Amrabat would be the cheaper alternative. He'll probably be on a lot less wages as well than the other players. I don't know what Man United would go out and pay these midfielders. I'm very curious to know what the potential price could be, but essentially it wouldn't really have them breaking the bank if they were signing someone like Manuel Ugarte. But that's just on incomings. In terms of outgoings, talk has really quietened down. Aaron Wan-Bissaka yet to come to an agreement. Let me actually bring that up on the screen right now. On Aaron Wan-Bissaka just quickly, but he's yet to come to an agreement with West Ham. Actually, no, with Manchester United. With Manchester United, reportedly, and this is just reports, guys. Reportedly, West Ham have offered a salary of 50k approximately to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He is on 90k right now. So what he needs to agree with Manchester United is that difference of 40k for the 1 year left of his Manchester United contract. Manchester United essentially would owe him just over £2 million. Yeah, and this is what is holding up the transfer. It's been reported today. I can't remember exactly who it was. Let me actually double check to see the exact person that actually reported it. But basically, what was reported is that what is holding up this situation is the fact that Manchester United want to include that £2 million salary difference as part of his transfer fee. And that is what is causing this to kind of slow down. I can't remember where I saw it. I thought I brought it up on my screen. But it was being reported by a reporter here in the UK. Just Matt Hughes, I think it was Matt Hughes that was reporting it this morning. So essentially what is happening, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is on 90k. West Ham are offering him 50k. He's got 1 year left of his contract at Manchester United. That's a 40k difference a week on his salary. That 40k across the 12 months left of his contract would be just over 2 million. Man United don't want to pay him 2 million to leave. Manchester United don't want to pay. If they were going to do that, they would have done it to Harry Maguire last summer when the same problem arose with West Ham and Harry Maguire. But they don't want to pay Aaron Wan-Bissaka 2 million to leave on top of the 50k a week that he will earn at West Ham. We went through it yesterday. West Ham don't really break the bank when it comes to salary structure. They've got about 6 players that are over 100k and everyone else is underneath that. So I understand Aaron Wan-Bissaka getting paid 50k. West Ham are not going to break their wage structure just for him. 2 million, Manchester United are trying to make West Ham pay that fee difference, on top of the transfer fee. So essentially they absorb it as part of the transfer cost. But they're yet to come to an agreement. And this could really hold up the process. Not only getting Aaron Wan-Bissaka out the door, but also Manchester United trying to get Nazir Mazraoui and Matthias de Ligt in through the door. Just a little update on Matthias de Ligt. It's not really it is an update, but it's not an update at the same time. But it's definitely something worth mentioning. Coming straight from Germany today was that Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen have agreed a deal in principle to sign Jonathan Tah. They've agreed a deal in principle. They've already agreed personal terms with the player. However, this cannot move forward. Bayern Munich cannot move forward with the signing of Jonathan Tah until Matthias de Ligt is sold to Manchester United. So now I think the ball could potentially be back in Manchester United's court. The ball was in Bayern Munich's court initially when they saw that Lenny Yoro was out for 3 months. They smelt the desperation from Manchester United, and they're trying to hold out for the 50 million fee that they want for Matthias de Ligt, which I think is not that far off of what they've agreed with Jonathan Tah, with Bayer Leverkusen, for Jonathan Tah. Now I think the ball is back in the court of Manchester United, because now Manchester United know that they have agreed terms in principle for a player. They've agreed personal terms with the player, and now they just need Man United to do them a favour and take Matthias de Ligt off their books. And that is where Manchester United can use it as leverage. they can use it as leverage to hopefully get a deal done. Now, it was already reported across the weekend that this would be a huge week for Manchester United. Man United are 4 days away. 4 days away from the Community Shield against Manchester City. A lot of people saying it's that's a pre-season game, which rightfully so it is. But it's a big day out at Wembley as well. And it's another opportunity to get your hands on some silverware. It's not silverware that's deemed a trophy, but it's still silverware at the end of the day. And now Manchester United could potentially go into that with Alessandro Martinez and Lindelof backline or Johnny Evans. So they need to get this deal over the line. So that is the current situation with Nazir Mazraoui and Matthias de Ligt. I'm really hoping that in the next 48 hours we get a here we go. I say that every day. I say that every day. Big up to Billionaire Kufi. Thank you very much for the super chat. I genuinely appreciate it. It says, did our scouts miss Lamine Kamara? How possible? I think Man United don't scout in Africa. That's the thing. You rarely hear Man United scouting in Africa. Just a little background on Lamine Kamara, if you lot don't know. Let me try to bring him up on my screen right now. Let me bring him up on my screen right now so you lot can see who he is. Remember this guy, guys. Remember this guy, yeah? When everyone's talking about him 2 years from now, 12 months from now, remember that you guys heard it here first about Lamine Kamara. 20 years old, Manchester United do not scout in Africa. They don't. Where did he come from? He came from a football academy in Senegal. It's an academy that has produced a lot of talent. Most notably, they've produced Papi Cisse. They've produced Ismail Assar. They've produced Sadio Mane. They've produced also Papi Sarr. They've produced a lot of people. But Manchester United don't scout there. AFCON under 17. Which one was it that he won? It was the AFCON. Yeah, AFCON under 20s. He won the competition, and then he won player of the tournament, young player of the group stages, and he made team of the tournament. Man United's problem is they do not scout in Africa. What happened after AFCON, guys? He played 2 years, I think, senior football in Africa in Senegal. And then Metz came in, you know, the French team. Metz came in League 2 in the second division of France, and they literally swooped him up. And that is what happens. He's been dubbed as a mix. You know what they say that he is? They say that he is a mix of Busquets and Kante. Do you know how ridiculous that is? And I've seen it with my eyes. I watched the first game. I watched Senegal's opening game of AFCON under 20 18 months ago, and he stood out to me. And I remember because I tweeted saying Lamine Kamara is going to be Senegal's next star. 12 months later, he got a call up to the senior national team, and then 12 months later, he got a big move to Monaco. So, guys, look out for him. Look out for him. But I really wish Manchester United would actually start scouting in Africa, because they would find a lot of gems there. They would find so many gems there. But big up to everyone in the chat. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. As always, guys, let's try and get to 100 likes on the stream. I know it's possible. I know you lot can do it. So be sure to hit the like button if you just come through. You know the rules. You come in, you wipe your feet, you say hi to everyone in the chat, and you slap the like button. If you want to join the Minions Gang, the membership club, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content, and of course you get to support the growth of the channel, the ever-growing channel here, the community that we're building. If you want to support the channel in alternative ways, you can by subscribing, by liking, or by sending in super chats with your comments, with your questions, with your thoughts, which of course it keeps my energy lights on, guys. It keeps, you know, the lights that I have for the stream, it keeps my lights on. So you get to support that as well. But last but not least, let's talk about the one. There's only one Antony. There's only one Antony. Now, reports coming from, again, this is coming from Footy Insider, by the way. This is coming from Footy Insider. So let's take it with a pinch of salt. Let's not get excited for the people that want Antony to leave, but there could be something on the horizon for Antony to leave. Reportedly, Al-Nassr, who were interested in Rafinha, have now turned their attention to signing Antony, given the fact that the deal for Rafinha has fallen through. Now, we know Barcelona are trying to offload Rafinha. It's no secret. That's another transfer that I'm just like, question mark. Why did he even ever go there? And reportedly, Al Nassr are now looking in the direction of Antony. Now, if you guys remember, about 2 weeks ago, reportedly Manchester United notified the Saudi league, in particular the 4 teams owned by the Saudi Investment Fund, which of course includes Al Nassr. They notified them that certain players were no longer going to be available for a potential transfer. Antony was not on that list. That list was made up of Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, and Casemiro, but Antony was not on that list. Now, if I'm being very honest, I think the only way Man United would ever be able to sell Antony is if they sell him, to Saudi Arabia. That is the only way. However, he might feel, and also, by the way, the salary that he's on, it's only possible that Manchester United would be able to sell him to somewhere like Saudi Arabia. There's nowhere else. There is honestly nowhere else that they could possibly sell him to without getting snubbed. There's nowhere else. Now, every time Antony comes out, he has said he wants to, he always points to the badge. He wants to fight for the badge. He loves the club. I too would say that if I was being paid 200k a week, I would absolutely say that. And I think he genuinely thinks that he stands a chance in the team. I think he genuinely, I think he actually thinks that he stands a chance. And if I was to go off of Umar Barada, I mentioned this interview a lot because Umar Barada did an interview on Financial Times before he joined Manchester United when he was still at Manchester City, and he spoke about the number of years that Manchester City give players to prove themselves from when they arrive before they decide to sell them. And he said players get 2 years. And we look at Man City's turnover. Their player turnover is proof that they go by that motto. They give you 2 years to prove that you're worth it. Otherwise, they keep it moving. Historically, anyways, in the earlier years under Pep, they definitely did that. They brought people and sold them the next season or 2 seasons after that. Now, will Manchester United sell Antony? I don't know. Now, it's even been suggested that Al Nassr are personally planting these stories in the media to trigger Barcelona. That is another aspect of the story, is that Barcelona, Al Nassr are trying to trigger Barcelona into accepting a bid for Rafinha by suggesting that they are looking elsewhere for other players. Now, in the world of football right now, how many right wingers would Saudi Arabia actually target? How many right wingers would Al Nassr even attract? How many, even if it's Al Ittihad, etc.? A lot of people are still choosing to play in Europe. They are. And people who go to Saudi, I think they go for 2 reasons. I think they are forced out of their club and they have their agent can't find them anywhere to go except for Saudi. I think that's the first one. And the second one, I think, is because of the money. I think it's because of that. So I think the only way that you end up at another club is through that. And that is where Antony is at right now. I genuinely think that. Let me see what, guys, quickly, before we kind of wrap up this part of the transfer news. How much are you taking for Antony? If this news about Antony is legit and Al Nassr are legitly interested and there's concrete evidence that they want to approach Man United with a transfer, what is the minimum that you're accepting for Antony to come in? It's not 100 million. There is no way Man United get 50 million for him. Let's be honest. How much did they pay for Saint Maximum? I think it was about 50 million that they paid for Saint Maximum. I think I'm just approximating. I think if United get 30 million for him, they'll sell him. I actually think that. I actually think 30 million, 30 million, he is on the first flight on Saudi Airways. If you know, you know, top airline. I don't know if they fly out of Manchester though. I think they do. He is on the first flight, Saudi Airways. They're going to do his e-visa for him immediately. Immediately. He will get visa on arrival. How about that? When he lands at Riyadh, he gets visa on arrival before he gets his work permit. They will do it quickly. 20 max, I agree. I think not max. I think 20 to 30 United could get that. I think United could get that. 20 million, I'm flying him there personal. OJ clearly got a chartered jet. I'm Blue Dabba Dabba says 100 million. We know damn well that's not happening. Mike says 40. Ezra says get rid of him for 5. Damn. Donny van de Beek went for 500k and you're saying Antony's worth 5 million? Damn, that's harsh. 2 bottles of Lucasade Pink and a chicken filet burger, not even with the chips. Not even with the chips. Not even with the chips. Just 2 bottles, not 1, but 2 bottles of Lucasade and a chicken filet burger. That's too much drink, not enough food. General Small says 50 mil. Yeah, United ain't getting 50 mil. United are not getting 50 mil. But guys, that's all we got for today. You guys know what it is. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. If there is any news between now and the next 24 hours, we will be live. I will be live here, just like I was live yesterday when the news about Manuel Ugarte came out. We'll be here to discuss all of it and to hear everyone's thoughts. Like I said, guys, we are 13 likes away from 100 likes. We are 13 likes away. So please, 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 if you have not hit the like button on your way out, just, it looks like this. The little button that it looks like that? Just hit the like button. I very much appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, you can by liking, by subscribing, by joining the membership gang, and by sending in super chats. But you guys know what it is. Daily Dose of Minna. I finally came up with a name for the daily content here on the channel. Daily Dose of Minna. We'll be back tomorrow, inshallah, God willing. If you are in the UK, guys, personal public service announcement, stay safe. Stay safe. You guys know what it is. Like I said, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. I'm out, guys. Peace. Hope we get a here we go in the next 48 hours.